Hi, I'm Lynette Xanders of Wild Alchemy. I am a qualitative researcher, a brand strategist, a facilitator, a cultural recalibrator, and an author. I work for some of the biggest and best brands and agencies in the world. I've found lots of best practices and common ills, and I want to share them with you. Today, I want to talk about how to profile your database into lions, horses, and dogs. I have a different video, obviously, that talks about that prioritization framework. And I've also got a different video on how to do a survey with your database as a place to start for cheap and easy research. But I think profiling your database is an important thing to do in and of itself. So, again, we want lions share of your revenues, love, and money. Horses are opportunities. Dogs are squeaky wheels, low income producing, high pain in the ass factor, PETA factor. So an internal survey, you can use an outside company. I usually go by the strength of their panel, and there's a company I always use because they are so smart they can simplify it and make it make sense to me and my clients who don't deal in research all the time. So if you want to use an outside company, great. But I would profile your database just using SurveyMonkey. You send out an email with a link. I would offer a raffle. I would explain why you need this information and trying to get them engaged. If you don't get anybody to fill it out, you have no information. But the questions that I would include would be, how often do they use this category? So if it's, I don't know, a wine brand, how often do they buy wine? How often do they drink wine? And just know they're going to lie about that. How often do they buy your brand? How often do they buy a competitor's brand? How much do they spend on average? Although average can be weird. Like, how much do you spend for an everyday bottle? How much do you spend for a celebration bottle? Where do you shop for wine? How much do you love this brand, that brand, and the other brand? Or which are your top 3 favorites and why? And so, in market research jargon, you've got CDI and BDI, so category development index and a brand development index. So are they heavy users of the category? So they buy lots of wine. They're going to be closer to a lion than people who don't buy a lot of wine, for example. If they buy a lot of wine and they buy a lot of your brand and they love your brand, they're going to be a lion. So that's category and brand index high. If they buy a lot in the category and they don't buy a lot of your brand, they're going to be a horse. There's opportunity there. If they don't buy a lot of wine, but they buy your brand often, they're also a horse. So can you get them to buy more often? If they don't buy a lot of wine and they don't buy a lot of your brand and they don't love your brand, they're a dog. So know who your lions are by how much they spend, how often they choose your brand, how much they love your brand. And I would 100% ask them why. Understanding their point of view and their language is, I think, the key to success. I would get them to opt in so that you could talk further with them and find out what you do for them and what you say about them. So how do you affect their brand image? Who do they serve this wine brand to, and what do they think it says about them? What do they want it to say about them? So if you can know the benefits, you're going to be able to be more right more often and out of the gate and win on that emotional level. So I think that's ultimately, especially with wine and cars and most of the passion brands, it's the emotional component as opposed to the the bits and bytes and the product differentiation. So I hope that was helpful. I think it's really important to profile your database. If nothing else, it helps you focus on the ones that are going to be the most important. And there's certain messages that you would send to your lions. There's certain opportunities you might be able, certain quizzes or surveys or events, or make sure that they're wildly happy. There are other strategies for horses, different messaging for category development, different messaging for brand development. And then not trying to be all things to all people. So if you have lions, horses, and dogs in the same messaging matrix, you've just dumbed it down. You've just found an average that isn't going to really say anything of import to any one of those groups, that you have permission to ignore your dogs. If you would like more information, put your question in the chat or in the comments and I'll get back to you. Feel free to find my courses, videos, how-tos, toolkits, books at wildalchemy.com. And Godspeed. I hope this was helpful.